Hello UPSC aspirants, myself Dr. Sahitya Pandit. This is my mail ID. In my previous videos, I have covered the acts of British India from Regulating Act 1773 to 1858 Act. We will continue this video from 1861 to Morley Minto Reforms 1909. Let's get started. From my previous videos, I have added this prelims previous year question of 2019, that is, consider the following statements about the Charter Act of 1813. We knew that Charter Act of 1830 has ended the trade monopoly of East India Company except for trade in tea and opium and also trade with China. This exemption was also removed in Charter Act of 1833. So first statement is right. Second statement, it asserted the sovereignty of British Crown over the Indian territories held by the company. Yes, this statement is also right. The revenues of India were now controlled by the British Parliament. This statement is wrong because it was after 1858 that the revenues were controlled by the British Parliament. So the correct answer is option A, 1 and 2 only. Coming to the Indian Commerce Act. Before going to this act, what was the need of this act? After 1858 rebellion and after the 1858 act, the British government has come to a conclusion that there was a threat to their ruling. So for increasing cooperation with Indians in the administration, they started getting reforms, starting with the 1858 Act and next Indian Councils Act. Simultaneously, 3 more Indian Councils Act were formed. So in order to restore the government power, they have brought these acts. This 1861 Act, the Governor General or Viceroy was Lord Canning. So further in this, 5th member was added. Till then there were 4 members and now the 5th member was added, and all these 5 members will be dealing with issues like home, military, law, revenue and finance. There was also a 6th member added for public works, that is in 1874, but under the same act of 1861. Okay. Next, 3 Indians were nominated as non-official members in the Legislative Council. They are Raja of Banaras, Maharaja of Patiala, Sir Dinkar Rao. So they are nominated by the Viceroy, but there was really no statutory provision that Indians should be included. Also, the legislative members were increased. They can be from 6 to 12 members. So totally there were 17 members, because the executive council, the 5 members were also the ex officio members, and the legislative members of 6 to 12. So totally there were 17 members, and they will be for 2 years, and there is 50% of non-officials in these legislative members. Also, till now there were 2 presidencies, that is Madras and Bombay. Now Bengal also was included, so totally 3 separate presidencies were brought into a common system. Next, Viceroy can make ordinances which has a validity for 6 months. Next, Secretary of State for India in British can also dissolve any act. If Governor General Council was given has brought any act, Secretary of State who was formed in under 1858 Act can dissolve the act. He was given more powers than the Governor General Council. Next, portfolio system was included. It means certain departments were assigned to each member of the Executive Council, and they will take care of all these departments. Also, rules and orders were given by Viceroy for the transaction of business. Don't you think that these are quite equal to the present parliamentary system form of government, in which president will be giving rules and orders of transaction of businesses, in this portfolio system like ministries which were given now, home ministry, finance ministry, defense ministry? Don't you think? So this is the portfolio system. Next, decentralization started beginning. So the last act of centralization was is under 1833. From 1853 the decentralization started, and this has it was now also given legislative powers to Bombay and Madras also. it has not only legislative powers, so legislative councils also started being formed to make laws. So it was not just the governor or a governor executive council in the provinces, but there will be also legislative council. But the legislative council of Calcutta was given extensive power than the other provinces. Next, new provinces. So till now the previous one, Bombay and Madras, are presidencies. From now new provinces can also be created, that is legislative for purposes, and for them lieutenant governors, it's not the governor, lieutenant governor will be appointed. There are provisions made for the formation of legislative council in other provinces also. So for example, legislative councils were formed in provinces like Bengal, Northwest Frontier Province and Burma. Okay. Next, if we see look into this whole act, it laid foundation for the Indian administrative system. See how the executive is working, how the ordinances are being formed, transaction of businesses, rules and orders are made, and portfolio system was made. So it laid the foundation for the Indian administrative system. Next, Indian Councils Act 1892. Why was this act formed again? If you see the chronology, in 1885, Indian National Congress was formed by the then Governor General or Viceroy Dufferin. At this time, the Indian National Congress members who were Indians have persuaded the British government to bring more reforms and include more Indians into the administration of the British government. So the Indian Councils Act of 1892 was formed, was brought. So at that time the Governor General was the Marquess of Lansdowne. So Indian National Congress made many demands, but very few demands were met by the British government under this act. In this, the non-official members till now who were included from 6 to 12 members, here 10 to 16 members were included at the central, but at provinces it differs in numbers, it's not that much important. And coming to nomination to legislature by Viceroy, first time the people got indirectly elected. Till now they were nominated, from now on indirectly elected. The word election was not mentioned, but they were indirectly elected. I have already mentioned here indirectly elected is nominated. Also, legislature can discuss budget. The legislative councils were given some powers. What are they? They can discuss budget and address questions to executive, and also cannot vote in the budget. It means they can only discuss the budget, financial matters. Also, they cannot ask supplementary questions. They can ask questions, but not additionally they cannot ask supplementary questions after getting their answer. Also, they cannot amend the budget, but they were given powers like they can make new laws, also repeat old laws, that too with the Governor General permission. And that too, principle of representation in provinces, it was not at the central, but provinces were given principle of representation. That is, if the district boards, municipalities, universities, trade, jamindars, if they recommend to the provincial legislature to include members, so and so members, the governor will then nominate them or indirectly elect them. So the legislative council included both nominations and also indirectly elected. Here itself says that they are recommended by district boards, municipalities. If they are recommending, then governor will be nominating. So if we see this act, even in this act, there were clearly not much reforms made. The moderates have failed to bring substantial reforms in this act also. Next, Morley-Minto Reforms 1909, Indian Councils Act 1909. So if coming to this act, why was this act formed? If you see the chronology again, there was before to this there was partition of Bengal, and there were extremists have come up in the Indian National Congress. Also, Indian National Congress has brought a concept of Swaraj in 1900. They accepted the Swaraj resolution in 1906. Also, G.K. Gokhale went to England and met Morley to bring reforms. Also, Shimla deputation has formed, where Aga Khan has got permission from the Governor Viceroy to form a Muslim league for the Muslim community community. So seeing considering all these changes being going on, Morley, who was the Secretary of State, he belongs to Liberal government, so he thought, okay, let's make it positive changes. So to placate the moderates, they have brought these reforms. In this, so from here, Viceroy Executive Council included the first Indian, that is Satyendra Prasad Sinha. We can call him as SP Sinha also. He is included as law member. If we go on, SP Sinha has played a very major role. Also, he was appointed. He was also appointed as a governor of Bihar. First time an Indian has become a governor of Bihar province in 1920. So his name keeps coming in the next videos also increase in elected members in both provinces and imperial legislative councils. Also the elected members were increased. These are, again, if we see elected members, it means that they are elected indirectly. Next, Central Legislative Assembly included 60 members. From earlier we have read that it was 10 to 16 plus 5, and here it was 60 members total, and in provinces it differs with different provinces has different numbers. And next, so in Executive Council totally there were 4 categories, that is ex officio members. Ex officio members includes whom? Governor General he himself, Viceroy he himself, and also the other 5 members of the Executive Council. They are ex officio members, and there are nominated official members, nominated non-official members. Nominated non-official members are, it can be Europeans or Indians. And next, coming to the next category is elected members. Elected members are by local representatives will elect the electoral college, they will elect provincial, and provincial to then Central Legislative Assembly, they elect like that. So next, if we come to elected members, let's discuss about elected members. How still they are indirectly elected. Local bodies, electoral college, all this I have already mentioned. So these members will be from local bodies, chamber of commerce, landlords who are having property, etc. And if we see that through Shimla deputation, Aga Khan has formed Muslim League, so they started they also requested for reservation. So Morley Minto reforms has brought the something called reservation of Muslims and a separate electorate. Also there were reserved seats for British capitalists and landlords. Also in this separate electorates, the Muslims only will elect the Muslim contestant in that constituency. Also this separate electorate was very eased, that income qualifications are low, so anybody can participate in the separate electorate, and the constituencies are selected depending on the strength of the population. More in that constitution, if there are more population of Muslims, then that constitution will be for Muslims, and only Muslims will be electing. This is, if you see this provision, it is clearly mentioning that it was to divide on communal lines the people. If Muslims are electing only Muslims, and Hindus or other majority members or whoever is there are electing their own members, it creates a dividing line, and there won't be any common fight for Swaraj or freedom of the nation. So it was like a carrot and stick policy. Also powers of legislature were also increased both at the center and also provinces. These powers include, they can earlier in 1892 Act, they can just ask questions. In this, supplementary questions also can be asked, and also they can't vote the budget. Here they can vote separate items in budget and not budget as a whole. Totally they cannot separate items. No discussion, these legislative councils has no powers to discuss on foreign policy or on relations with the princely states were permitted. And also to Council of Secretary of State, which was formed in 1858. He has 15 members advisory council. In that, 2 Indians were included for Indian affairs. In provinces, still non-elected majority is maintained, but this act is very important. For first time, non-official majority was included. Non-official majority, but not elected majority. There was no elected majority. It was non-elected majority, but first time non-official majority. It retained the official majority in the center, and that too, it should be remembered that this first time non-official majority was started in provinces, not at the center. It also provided for the separate representation of presidency corporations, chamber of commerce, university, and also jamindars. For your information, I have also added that our first secretary of state of 1958 is Lord Stanley. I will be keep adding some more facts in my future videos also. Thank you. In my next video, I will be continuing about the 1919 Montague-Chelmsford reforms to 1947. If you like this video, please like. Also share with your friends this video. It will be a quick revision for your exams before the prelims exam. Also if you have any doubts, please comment in the comment section, and also please subscribe on my channel. Thank you.